As Dave mentioned, this week we're looking at joy as an act of liberation. With that topic in mind, I finally looked up the history of bra burning. I know it sounds silly. I am embarrassed to say I had not known the history of this lore myself. I had cooked up all sorts of vivid infernos in my imagination. For some reason, the image that I cooked up was of flaming bras festooned in trees. Don't ask me if they were ignited before they were flung or if they were first carefully hung and then lit one by one. It's funny what our imaginations can do when we don't have the whole story. Since I didn't know the story, I'm suspecting that at least a few of you don't know the history of the bra burning lore either. The whole trope of bra burning originates in 1968. The organization New York Radical Women gathered around 200 feminists and civil rights activists to protest the Miss America pageant in Atlantic City. For the demonstration, women disposed of symbols of their oppression into freedom trash cans. Into said trash can, they tossed things like hairspray and makeup, girdles, corsets, false eyelashes, mops, high-heeled shoes, and bras. Inside the Miss America contest hall, protesters also unfurled a giant banner with the words "Women's Liberation," and it garnered quick media attention. During the news coverage of the event, reporter Lindsay Van Gelder drew an analogy between feminists protesting throwing their bras in the trash cans and Vietnam protesters burning their draft cards. At the women's liberation protest, one or two bras may have been burned along with a few other items symbolizing women's oppression, but that was in no way the focus of the demonstration or the freedom trash can. But it stuck. From that moment on, the reactionary trope of bra burning became a catchphrase to dismiss and discount feminist voices. Focusing on bra burning as the centerpiece of this demonstration is a gross misrepresentation of that day. Bra burning isn't even a thing. Rather, it's a fearful reaction from the dominant culture. I admit I'm a little disappointed in the truth of this story. As far-fetched as my visions were, it turns out I'm not the only one who cooked up false images of what actually happened. The dominant culture has very, very difficult times acknowledging liberation or joy when it is expressed by marginalized groups. My own entry point into that discussion is the joy and resistance of LGBT pride. Every year in June, my queer community comes alive. Folks come out in drag and in harnesses and furry outfits. They wear the brightest sequins and the skimpiest outfits they have in their closets. Holding hands, kissing, dancing, they march down the street to loud, unapologetic music. And that annual explosion of joy is reenacted behind closed doors in gay bars around the world as it has been for decades. More than just a place to hide, those clubs are a place to celebrate, to let hair down, to dance, to wear outrageous gender-bending outfits. It's an explosion of joy for a few hours during the week. And every year at Pride, when it rolls around, there is great hand-wringing of the straight dominant culture as it wonders, why do they have to be so loud, so garish, so sexually expressive? Can't they just have a civilized parade? Now, you all probably know that that hand-wringing happens. What you may not know is that the same dialogue goes on within the gay community. As more mainstream, typically white, upper-middle-class gay and lesbian folks, people who look like me, turn to the rest of the community and say, "Can't you tone it down a little bit? Can you not flaunt your body so much? Can we make this a family-friendly event? We don't want to offend the whole city." Every year, in the midst of this explosion of joy, portions of the community start to police ourselves, tamping down, softening, silencing radical self-expression that pride is supposed to be all about. Part of the experience of liberation that we don't talk as much about is what Buddhists might call equanimity. Equanimity is caring for others and at the same time knowing that their happiness or their suffering is not in our control. Even while I wish you were happy, I can only be responsible for my own happiness and emotional well-being. And even while your unhappiness is with me, it's really about you. It is not my problem to fix. So I can find joy, even if you are angry or disgusted with me. Your emotional response is not my problem or my responsibility. Radical liberation means letting go of the fear and the shame that dominant culture imposes. And I believe that joy is a natural human response to those moments of liberation and freedom. Most of us at Tapestry are pretty comfortable within the dominant culture. We are largely comfortable with standard white American cultural expectations. That may mean that other people's expression of joyful liberation may be confusing or even feel threatening sometimes. So I want to invite us all to notice how we respond to other people's joy and vibrant self-expression. That may be the tone of speech or volume or clothing or physical mannerisms. I invite you to notice your response to exuberance expressed by others. This week, I learned quite a bit from an article by Shante Joseph titled, "What Black Joy Means." First, she points out really bluntly what hadn't fully occurred to me. Through very specific recent history of global colonialism, in our context in America, through slavery, we can trace the control and subjugation of black bodies. The level of that control wasn't just about tone of speech or music. It was actual physical control of bodily movement, of clothes, of access to food. It was complete control. That history of shackles and subjugation is why the act of joy is a powerful form of resistance, and why, in the process of protests and worship, the expression of joy and pleasure is an intentional, powerful ingredient to create change. Shante Joseph writes, quote, "To resist the omnipresent, intrusive and pervasive nature of white supremacy, we must also allow ourselves to be rebelliously joyous. Where society has told us to be quiet and that we're too loud or too different, it's an act of resistance to revel in that joy. that they have spent so much of history trying to take away from us. While joy is a powerful organizing tool, it's perhaps even more powerful when it's spontaneous. In her article, she tells about a viral sensation of Black people experiencing joy online. A young online person, Kayla Robinson, posted a series of videos she titled Thread, Videos of Black People Laughing. The post quickly surpassed 1 million views and was shared by over 250,000 other people. In the comment section, people deeply and sincerely responded about how much they needed this. An 18-year-old college student from the UK wrote, "I watched the videos like 10 times. Most of my feed was Black pain and trauma. So seeing Black people laughing, experiencing pure, unfiltered joy is so valuable," she said. Adrienne Waheed is a photographer and author. She created the photo book titled Black Joy and Resistance. She said, quote, "For Black folks, joy and resistance aren't really that separate. The reason that joy and resistance pair so well is because as Black folks, we have been resisting all our lives. Ever since we were brought to the United States and enslaved, our lives have been subjugated and our freedoms have been regulated," she explains. "They're always trying to quiet us down, turn us down. They tell us, you're too loud or you're too bright. However, those things are attached to our joy, our very being, and it's how we exist as full humans." Now, this photographer's work takes a very global perspective on Black joy, and she includes West Indian carnivals. You may be familiar with those flamboyant, feather-bejeweled, raucous street parties, Carnival. Did you know, I just learned, that Carnival is linked directly to slavery and revolt in Trinidad? The French colony in Trinidad produced sugarcane as its major crop. The first revolt was burning that sugarcane, or can brûlée. The word and festival evolved to be called can brûlée. Of course, various colonial powers tried to outlaw the celebration with various excuses why that party shouldn't be allowed. But to this day, carnival-type festivals are experienced by the Black diaspora globally as celebration of freedom and joy. Joy is both a response to liberation and a powerful motivating factor. This Earth Day, I'm reminded of how important it is to experience joy for the beauty of our Earth home. I also find myself reflecting on my own occasional dismissal of what I jokingly, very lightheartedly, call those tree-hugging hippies that I so love. Even while I know that environmental protections have been won by smart, passionate lovers of the earth, some part of me, in the cracks where the dominant culture seeps in, the parts that call for uniformity and hierarchy, some part of me wants to dismiss people who boldly express joy in nature as ungrounded or silly. Let me give you a very benign example. In my kitchen, we have some hand cream from the Body Shop. It's deeply fragranced with hemp seed oil. I love it. And yet I often joke about stinking like a hippie after I put it on. Some weird assimilationist dominant culture part of me is reluctant to fully embrace the joy that I find in that natural, earthy, incense-rich fragrance. So I want to give myself a little more permission to embrace that earth-loving, hippie, tree-hugging, joyous expression of the earth that is very much a part of me. Maybe that's not your joy, but I think it's part of my joy that's been held back. After the service today, the Green Sanctuary Committee has organized all sorts of opportunities for us to learn more. I think they even have some opportunities for a little silliness and joy. There are rocks to decorate. Do we remember pet rocks? Yeah, good stuff. We even have, I think we can make seed bombs to either throw in our backyard or somewhere else for lovely wildflowers to spring up as a resistance. And of course, we have trees that need your hugs. In closing, I want to invite all of us to encounter joy as it is connected with liberation. And that's a twofold invitation. When you see or hear other people enacting their joy, as they manifest their liberation, pay attention to your gut response. Just notice how other people's freedom in this world sits with you emotionally. And second, I want to give us all a little more permission to fully enact our own joy, whether that's to join the Green Sanctuary after service or hug a tree. Maybe you want to let your flag fly at Pride this June. Maybe you want to join one of the protests on May Day coming up just around the corner. Maybe your gender expression has been held back, or some piece of your cultural identity has taken a back seat. Whatever your joyful resistance is, bring it to the party too. It is power that we desperately need right now. Amen.